You are listening to the James Carpenter Podcast Show, episode number 4. In today's episode, I wanted to talk about why it can be so hard to do something new and to let you know about 3 simple steps that you can take to avoid failure and love your life. Now, have you ever had the thought about why it can take so long to learn a new skill or to develop a different habit? The answer includes the thoughts you're having in your mind that are causing you to feel about something. So much of the time, we get in our own way with our thinking to the extent that we prevent ourselves from doing what we really want with our life. That's why I want to share with you my following 3 steps to getting out of your own way so that you can better focus to achieve your desired goals. And it all comes down to knowing what road to take. For instance, it's like getting in your car and driving to the grocery store. The first couple of times, if you're new to the area or you haven't been before, you simply plug it into your destination into your GPS, and it provides you turn by turn directions until you arrive. It's similar with what's happening in your head about trying something new. At first it can feel confusing not knowing what to do simply because you haven't mapped it out before. So let me explain further. You haven't yet paved the neural pathway in your mind to know what to do. So it's like I just mentioned, your current thinking keeps getting in your way and is causing you from progressing any further. How so? Well, it's anytime you say to yourself, well, I don't know how to do that, or anytime you may feel confused, or it could even look like self doubt. So it all starts with your thoughts. Those thoughts create the feelings, and how we feel about something drives our action, or in some cases, inaction. For example, you can very simply, look at the time, you look at the clock and you have the thought, oh, it's time to eat, or I'd better eat something now so that I'm not hungry later. So these thoughts lead you to feel hungry, which then cause you to go out and buy and eat something, which that's your action. You end up eating the food. Another example could be having the thought of, I want to show kindness to others. So then you would feel compassionate or love, which then allows you to smile at people passing by. And the good news about all of this, you're the thought keeper. Isn't that awesome? You can choose what thoughts to have and what thoughts you pay attention to. So, first, your conscious thinking takes place in your prefrontal cortex of your mind. So, again, all the thoughts reside there. Second, those thoughts then drive your feelings or your emotions, which take place in your limbic system. Your emotions match or they complement the thoughts that you have. And so, another way to think of it is your prefrontal cortex is like the GPS of your brain. It directs and steers the ship. And guess what? You're the captain. And then the limbic system follows with respective feelings and emotions based on your past experiences. So that's why it all starts with your thinking. It all starts with your thoughts. And each time you have an experience, your senses then take in the world and triggers electricity in your brain. And a way I like to think of it and look at it is, that electricity races through your brain like lightning in a thunderstorm. And then that electricity is produced from those feelings. So remember, the thought happens first, the thought then creates the feeling then creates the electricity. And those feelings oftentimes take the form of, some type of action or inaction. And I'll explain the difference between why at times we take action versus other times we don't. And so if you think about it, new neural pathways have been formed since our childhood, millions of them. And so when we think a thought over and over again, that pathway strengthens. So imagine the start of a dirt road. It's raw, it's uneven, it's rough. When you drive along it, unstable rocks fly everywhere along the dirt road. It's bumpy and noisy. But then imagine that the dirt road is paved. The roughness and the rawness now turn into smoothness and a more permanent roadway. Then, the more it's traveled, it's now expanded into a two-lane street until it's ultimately widened into a four-lane highway. And so it becomes a well established roadway for that electricity to travel over again and again. In fact, it becomes the preferred route that our mind wants to choose because it's now become the familiar path. So that's why it can be challenging to do new things or to experience new adventures, learn a new skill, go to new places, or even meet new people. Just simply the road has yet to be traveled or, in this case, to be created. So your mind likes and prefers familiarity. It's safe, it's known, we know the outcome to the story already. And, if you think about it, like your mind is designed to be efficient. It wants to think the same thought over and over again. And so when we ask our brain to do something it hasn't done before, it freaks out. It wants to find the path of least resistance. And when you break it down, I've found the three most common reactions or deflections that I hear from and that we typically think. The first one is, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what's needed. And so if you think about that, the fear of not knowing how to do something paralyzes us to take zero action towards a goal or a dream. Zero. So that's the first one, is I don't know. The second one is we tell ourselves, oh, I'll do it when. I'll do it when the kids are in bed or when the kids are older, when we've paid off some debt. The sad truth is, time will come and go, but it's your boldness and courage in taking action now that will determine whether or not you reach your goal. So that's number two, is I'll do it when. And then the third reason of why we typically don't do something is I'll try. So saying I'll try is like saying we'll see what happens, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. It's the equivalent of failing before you start because you basically tell yourself that when it doesn't happen, you won't be disappointed or shocked. And so those are the three. So I'll repeat them. I don't know, I'll do it when, and I'll try. And many times we don't have a pathway yet. Your pent up demand or electricity is pushed to a familiar pathway, a road already paved, a path well trodden. But if the pathway doesn't exist, the neurotransmitters send a message back to the prefrontal cortex explaining the situation. It's like in a battle scene in a movie where the report from the front lines, goes along the lines of, we've hit a dead end. What should we do? And then the command center says, retreat. That's not always the case. That doesn't always happen. Usually one of two scenarios play out. Scenario one, retreat. As just explain with the aforementioned excuses, that I don't know, I'll try, I'll do it when. Or scenario two is we have the thought of, well, let's push forward. Let's keep going. Yet this doesn't immediately resolve the issue of not knowing. It doesn't instantly pave a new pathway. So another way our brain analyzes whether to give up on something or to double down is to play out two vital stories of the situation. And a lot of the times this happens subconsciously. Story A would be it ends with a happy ending. The end result will yield a greater satisfaction than the pain involved to get there. Story B, it doesn't end with a happy ending. It's a negative ending. The pain is going to be much worse than the effort needed to accomplish this thing. And in the end, one story will win out based on the thoughts and the strength of the feeling to the thought. And so your brain will go out and collect past evidence for closing arguments. It's essentially going to tally up previous successes or failures that you've had. And if you're wanting to learn a new skill, what's your past experience been with that? How did it make you feel during and after? Or if you're wanting to meet new people, did you feel welcomed or did you feel hurt? And so it's going to remember what happened historically. Now, I don't believe that our past experience determines our future outcomes. I believe that each of us can choose the future we want, regardless of the history, but it has to be intentional, starting with your thoughts about it. And so here are my three steps to getting out of your own way. The first step is meditate. Meditating, it's choosing what works for you. It could be deep breathing, it could be going for a walk to clear your head, getting some fresh air. Everyone's different, so find something that works for you. So meditating, it calms the limbic system of your brain where all the feelings and emotions are generated. And then once that's calmed down, once you're in that meditative state, you can then be aware of what's going on with your thinking. So that's step two. First one is to meditate. Step two is once you've in that meditative state, you can now do the thought work. So once you're calm, or in other words, you've quieted all the shouting in your brain, you can better focus to identify and isolate a thought that's preventing you from getting it done. And then the third step is to then decide. You can then decide what to think, how you want to feel, and ultimately what you want to do. It's your choice. And that's the best news I can give you. And I'm confident that by following these three steps, you'll create a deeper self connection, which will allow you to turn lights on to rooms in your mind that you didn't even realize were there. And you can then take action to clean up any negative thinking that's preventing you from reaching your goals, all in an effort to live a more conscious life in a more conscious manner to live the life you truly want. All right, my friends, that's what I have for you today. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.